It's a beautiful 9 degrees here at the farmstead. Pond is completely frozen over, but that's not what this video is about. So my wife and I recently bought a new house. It's the first time in my life that I've ever had a basement, and she allowed me to put whatever I wanted and set it up however I want. So I like these videos on YouTube. I figured I'd make one in my own space. If you like it too, that's cool, I guess. But been here about 2 months, like I said, so lots to come and lots going to change, but I want to at least record something of how it sits as of January 2022. We'll start over here. I do have an interest in antique firearms. The bottom gun is a 1943 M1 Garand. It's mostly original. A lot of parts were swapped out on them over the years because it was also used in the Korean War. But happy to have something that's mostly original in the collection. And above that is a 1939 Mosin Nagant. It has the hammer and sickle stamp. Just due to the shortage of weapons in World War II on the Soviet side, probably saw combat, so it's just a cool piece of history. I like history. 1911 there, that's new, so that is not vintage. At some point I'd like to get a vintage one. Over here on the right is my game collection, and I guess that's what primarily this video is going to focus on. So here's my PS4 collection. I'll do a quick pan. I have most of the games you'd expect. I'll call out a couple. This is Grease. This is a limited run release. Absolutely beautiful and amazing game. Absolutely love the Dark Souls series. Such a fantastic series. I think Legend of Zelda was my favorite game franchise of all time until I played those. I don't like Bloodborne. I know it's kind of controversial. I don't like farming for blood vials just to fight a boss again. I did beat it. Wasn't my favorite one in the series though. I do have a PS5, so I've been adding to that a lot lately. PS4 was just such a good system. I'll probably be collecting for that for a while. My goal is to kind of focus on getting 50 to 100 games from each system that I enjoy that I'll actually play. I don't really care about collecting every game or every console, and I don't need 500-600 games for each console either, so just the ones that I enjoy. Here's my Switch collection. Probably my least favorite console, especially in the later last few years. Metroid Dread was absolutely excellent. Legend of Zeldas are always good. there's too many anime games that are just thrown out there that are dating sims. I'm having a hard time enjoying the Switch these days. And then these speakers are my rear channels. We'll look at the system here in a sec. Above that, I have my Wii U and a couple Wii games, a boxed Wii console. I have 2 GameCube games, so not a huge collection there. And honestly, with the prices, I don't expect that to expand unless I really find a good deal here and there. Not opposed to it, not opposed to collecting anything, but I'm not going to just pay outrageous prices for some things. At the top, we have my PlayStation, complete in box, and these are some games I had when I was younger. So a lot of Final Fantasies, almost all Final Fantasies. Legend of Dragoon, critically underrated, but I know that's a common thought across the board, so that'll be one collection I'll be focusing on in probably the next few years. My PS2 setup here, again, a lot of Final Fantasies, a lot of GTAs. At one point, I had probably close to 50 PS2 games when I was in high school. And like most high schoolers do, you need gas money, so I ended up selling most of them to a local game store for like 200 bucks. Not the smartest move, kind of regret it now, but when you're in high school and you need to drive around, that's what you sell. To the right of that is my original Game Boy. So this was technically the first system of any type that I had. I think I got this in '93. Not a huge collection. I've got a few things here, nothing rare. Kid Icarus. I have Wario's Blast, my original Pokemon Silver. which I found out the other day, the battery died on it, so my childhood save got wiped. So a little sad there, but good memories nonetheless. To the right, I have an NES action set in box. The NES isn't really what I'm primarily collecting for right now. I never had one growing up. We'll talk about that, but it's too expensive to collect for. I just don't see myself playing a lot of NES games at this point that I can't find on classic systems or compilations. So I just happen to have an NES, so that just gets added to the collection. Below that, we have my SNES and a few games. Let me just pan over these. Nothing super rare. A few years ago, I actually sold off quite a few SNES games. I had all the Donkey Kongs, all the Mega Men. Fun story with this particular console, though. So my family was pretty poor growing up. We didn't have a lot of video games, and this exact console belonged to my friend, who was also my neighbor. And I'd go over to his house almost every day after school, and we'd play Super Nintendo. And probably early high school, I had a DVD player, and they were kind of new at the time, like DVDs and DVD players. And I traded him my DVD player that I got for a good deal for his Super Nintendo, which at the time was a bad choice for me. It was a way better trade in his favor, because I think these were going for like 25 bucks. And a new DVD player is going for over 200. But, 20 something years later, I think I got the better deal. So happy to have that. A lot of nostalgia here for me. Eventually I'll get a box for it. To the left of that, I have one Sega 32X game. And yes, it's Golf Magazine presents 36 Great Holes starring Fred Couples. If you've watched the DF Retro on 32X, you'll get why I bought that. Dreamcast controller at the back, box Dreamcast system, and I think I mentioned, but any console that's in box is complete. So that means it has the owner's manual, registration cards. The Dreamcast came with a telephone line for the modem, so all that's in there. And a few Dreamcast games. Quake 3 is sealed. Choo Choo Rocket was sealed. I've since opened it and played it. It's a really fun game. My wife hates it. Below that, we've got my Xbox 360 that I bought a long time ago. It's not my original Xbox. I did have a white one that got red ringed of death, so I bought this shortly after they re-released this console. And some of my original Xbox and 360 games. And yes, I do have the complete Burger King trilogy here, and it is sealed. So, talk about one hell of a collection. Alright, and so the main event is the N64 shelves, or wall, whatever you want to call it. I have every Funtastic, so orange, purple, red, the clear black, the ice blue, and the gold. All the Funtastics are complete with a expansion pack inside the box. I say complete, it didn't come with that, I don't think, but they all have it. And then the gold system, which I would love to box, but that thing's like $800, and that's too much for cardboard. This is my original N64 I got for my birthday as a kid. While the Game Boy was my first system that I ever got, the N64 was the first like home console I ever owned. Like I mentioned, we weren't super wealthy, and so I played NES and SNES at friends' house. But the N64, my grandmother and my parents got together and they pooled their money and they bought me this. And a lot of nostalgia here. I realized the PlayStation was superior. N64 hasn't aged well, but damn it if I don't have some love for the system still. A good number of box controllers. The Atomic Purple in box is pretty rare. And this dark, it's like a dark clear purple, almost matches the Fantastic one. I think this one was an Australia release, because I think the US ones came in blister packs, if this one even got released in the US at all. But happy to have that in the collection. I don't see that very often. the Episode 1 Racer set. So the Episode 1 Racer game was the first game I ever got for my N64. So happy to have this set. It does have 2 posters from Star Wars Episode 1, which are kind of cool. And then the DK64 pack. This was one of the few games that I actually owned growing up. Not this system and box, but DK64 was one of my only games. So box is a little beat up, but it's all there. I'll do a pan over the collection here real quick, and just of note, basically from here across the bottom over are complete in box. So they have manual, they have registration cards. I was collecting for this 10 to 12, if not more, years ago. So I got into it before it got really, really expensive, and they've honestly just been sitting in a closet for most of that time. So happy to live here now where I can put it out on display. But let me just give you a quick pan so you can see what's in here. Quake 2 and NFL Quarterback Club 99 are both sealed. I know it's a huge deal for those games. I'll probably never open them. I can play Quake 2 on PC. So a lot of these games I either had or rented or played at friends' houses as kids. I'm kind of done collecting for the N64, I'll be honest. It's getting to the point where it's too expensive to justify it. There's a lot of other things I'd like to focus on. I have about 102 games for the N64. Most of the ones that I love and had. And so I think I'm done here. But great system. I love it. I know it's divisive, but that's a big part of my childhood right there. As far as the future, systems I'm going to collect for, like I said, I'm not really going to be pushing the NES unless I get deals. And even the SNES, they're too expensive to really just dedicate time and money into. But the systems I am looking at doing more of in the future are the PlayStation 1, Dreamcast, and the original Xbox. And maybe PS2. I do love the PS2. But honestly, with backwards compatibility on Microsoft systems, if I can get a game that's backwards compatible on Xbox, I'm going to probably not pick it up on PS2. Just because I could probably play it on a Series X at this point. So not the biggest collection in the world, but I think it's a nice collection. A lot of boxed systems. At some point I'm going to box the Super Nintendo and the Wii U. I just like it. I just like how it looks when they're all boxed up. Coming over here, this area still needs a lot of work, but this is a 75-inch Samsung Q80T, probably the nicest TV I've ever owned. Polk audio, front and center channel speakers, PS5, Switch, my gaming PC, which I don't really use that much anymore. Video cards are just too expensive, so you'll notice that's a common thing with me. Is just things are too expensive, and I'm not going to invest the time and money into it. I've got a decent record collection. Not a ton of records, but I think the ones I have are awesome. I collect a lot of records from local bands. If you've got a decent local music scene in your city, a lot of times they'll release vinyls, and picking those up is just super cool. I don't need the really popular ones that there's a million of. I like the local bands if they have vinyls. But I'll collect a lot of vinyls from like the pop punk and hardcore punk eras. Blink-182, My Chemical Romance, Michigander. If you've never listened to them, they're fantastic from my home state here. Big audio guy, so I obviously have a turntable, mini disc player. I have a Marantz CD and tape cassette deck, and that's my AV receiver down there. Elsewhere in the basement, we have a nice little bar area. If you've watched Trailer Park Boys, that's Randy and his gut. That's a signed photo. My wife, who hates Trailer Park Boys, went to his cheeseburger picnic tour with me, and she got called up on stage. So she actually got his autograph, and of course, She gave it to me because she doesn't like the show, but she knows I love it. So funny to have that here. And I'm not a huge into sports. I do like them, but I'm not obsessive about it. This is a Gordie Howe autographed hockey stick that I got in 1989. Pretty cool. Gordie Howe is one of the greatest hockey players to ever live. So, and he's from my home state of Michigan. So happy to have that. I have an AK-47 and an AR-15 in those boxes, and some other guns elsewhere in the house. Eventually, I'm probably going to display them somewhere, maybe on that wall. Obviously, we'll lock them up and keep them safe. That's important. It's foolish not to do that kind of stuff. So you can have an interest that's a little dangerous, but you just got to be smart about it. So as far as what I'm planning to do, one, this white wall needs to be painted. I did paint this blue color. It used to just all be that same white. I think the blue really looks better. I'm going to carry the shelf wall over here, and I think I'm going to have the N64 stuff, maybe Dreamcast and Genesis, and then PlayStation, maybe some Xbox mixed in there. And then the systems that I'm not really collecting for, like the SNES and the NES, and even the Wii U will probably end up staying on this shelf back here. Probably going to do some kind of LED lighting across the back, and LED lighting across the bar here. I do have a nice little basement in here, or a bathroom in the basement, so that's kind of nice when you're just down here hanging out. And that is my Great Dane puppy. I guess she's not really a puppy anymore. She's about a year old and 110 pounds. She's chewing on something she shouldn't be, so that's why she looks sad. She's a goofball. And Tama drum set. I just got this for Christmas this year. My wife bought that for me. I'm going to be expanding on that a little bit. It's a good starter set. I haven't really played in about 10 years, so trying to get back into the groove. Just enjoy playing music of all sorts. We have a piano upstairs too, so. That is the basement as of January of 2022. Obviously, it's still pretty empty. Still looking to do a lot of expansion. I have a lot of hobbies outside of collecting video games. I'm really interested in classic vehicles, especially classic trucks. I have a motorcycle. And then also we live on a small farm. We got out of the city after all the craziness that's been happening. So we have a lot of interests outside of just one or two things that we kind of invest our time and money into. And if you're interested, I may do a video come spring of how we're going to set this farm up. We own all that back area. We own way over to the right, way over to the left, and then there's the whole front of the house area too. So if you're interested in that stuff, I do have a 1989 Chevy K5 Blazer. I'm probably going to be doing an engine swap on, but this video was just meant to be kind of my interests in my man cave. I may make a video next year if we continue to develop this out a little bit, but pretty happy with it so far. I've never owned anything like this or had this much space to display the things that I'm interested in. So hopefully you like it. If you don't, I don't know what to tell you, but hope you have a good rest of your year.